Welcome back, bookworms and deep divers. Today we're taking a trip to a farm unlike any other, a place where pigs talk, horses rebel, and the battle cry is, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. That's right. We're diving headfirst into George Orwell's Animal Farm.
Ah, Animal Farm, a classic.
It's a story that's been analyzed and debated for decades.
But don't let the talking animals fool you. There's some seriously deep stuff going on beneath the surface.
It's a story that can be enjoyed on multiple levels, right?
Yeah.
On one hand, you've got this engaging tale about animals overthrowing their human oppressors.
Right.
It's like a thrilling adventure story. But then there's this whole other layer that explores complex themes like power, corruption, and the dangers of totalitarianism.
Exactly. It's a brilliant satire on the Russian Revolution and the rise of the Soviet Union.
But it also transcends that specific historical context and speaks to universal truths about human nature and the abuse of power.
That's why it remains so relevant today.
It's like a cautionary tale for any society, really.
Very true.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the plot, let's set the stage. We're on Manor Farm, owned by the, shall we say, less than competent Mr. Jones.
Ah, yes, Mr. Jones, the embodiment of human neglect and tyranny.
This guy is the poster child for irresponsible farm ownership.
Absolutely. The animals under his care are overworked, underfed, and living in deplorable conditions. It's a recipe for rebellion.
And that's where Old Major comes in, right? This wise old pig who, I guess you could say, plants the seeds of revolution.
Right. His famous speech about the evils of man and the dream of an animal utopia really strikes a chord with the other animals.
It's like he gives them a language to express their discontent, their longing for something better.
Yes. And he introduces them to this concept called animalism, a philosophy that advocates for animal liberation and the creation of a society where all animals are equal.
And that equality is enshrined in those 7 commandments, right? Whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall wear clothes. No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall kill any other animal. All animals are equal.
Those commandments are really the cornerstone of their new society.
At least that's the idea. But we all know how well intentions can pave the road to, well,
Let's just say those commandments won't stay so straightforward for long.
yeah, something tells me those pigs have got some plans of their own brewing.
Ah,
But before we get to the pigs taking over, let's talk about the other animals.
okay.
I mean, you've got this whole cast of characters, each representing different aspects of society and how they respond to this radical change. You've got the workhorses, Boxer and Clover, symbols of strength, loyalty, and hard work.
Boxer, the epitome of dedication, always willing to put in the extra effort, and Clover, always looking out for the welfare of others.
Then you've got the clever, but perhaps a little too clever, pigs, Snowball, and Napoleon.
Yes, Snowball, the visionary, the idealist, full of big ideas for improving the farm.
And Napoleon, the shrewd, calculating strategist, always one step ahead.
A bit too ambitious, perhaps.
And let's not forget Molly, the vain, somewhat shallow horse who's more concerned with ribbons and sugar cubes than revolution.
Molly represents those who are more comfortable with the status quo, who long for the comforts of the old regime.
Right, even if that regime was oppressive.
Exactly. And then there's Benjamin, the cynical old donkey who's seen it all and doesn't believe anything will ever truly change.
Oh, Benjamin, the voice of skepticism, the one who reminds us that things aren't always what they seem.
He adds a layer of complexity to the story.
He does. So we've got this powder keg of a farm, disgruntled animals, a charismatic leader, an old major, and these 7 commandments promising a better future.
It's a recipe for revolution.
So how does this grand rebellion actually go down? Do the animals meticulously plan their uprising? Or is it more of a spontaneous eruption?
Well, it's kind of both. There's this underlying tension, this simmering resentment that's been building for years.
Right, but what's the spark that ignites it all?
It's actually a rather simple act of neglect. Mr. Jones, in his usual drunken stupor, forgets to feed the animals.
The straw that breaks the camel's back.
Precisely. The animals, driven by hunger and years of pent-up frustration, finally snap. They rise up, chase off the humans, and claim their freedom.
Wow, so it's like a moment of pure, unadulterated liberation, right? They tear down the symbols of their oppression, the whips, the bits, even the ribbons that Molly was so fond of.
They rename the place Animal Farm, a symbolic act of reclaiming their own destiny.
And in the early days, there's a sense of real optimism, isn't there? The animals work together, they share the fruits of their labor, and for a brief moment, it seems like their dream of an egalitarian society might actually come true.
Yes, that first harvest after the rebellion is a resounding success, a testament to their hard work and cooperation.
But of course, we know this honeymoon phase isn't going to last forever. There are already cracks appearing in this seemingly perfect facade.
Uh-oh, you're noticing those cracks, are you?
Those ambitious pigs, Snowball and Napoleon, they're not content to just share power, are they?
You're right to be suspicious. There's a power struggle brewing between them, a clash of ideologies that will have profound consequences for Animal Farm.
Okay, now things are getting really interesting and maybe a little bit scary.
Let's just say the future of Animal Farm is about to get a lot more complicated and a lot less utopian. Things are definitely about to take a turn.
A turn for the worse, you mean?
Unfortunately, yeah. Remember those cracks we talked about? Those tiny fissures in the seemingly perfect facade of Animal Farm? Well, those cracks are about to become gaping chasms.
Okay, dramatic much.
Hmm.
But I get it. Things are about to get real.
Real and pretty bleak, I'm afraid. The thing is, you see, the seeds of this descent into tyranny were sown right from the start.
Wait, really? I thought the animals were all united, working together for a common goal.
On the surface, yes. But underneath, those power dynamics were already shifting. And those seemingly straightforward Seven Commandments, well, they proved to be anything but.
So how does it all start to unravel? Who makes the first move?
It's Napoleon, of course, the cunning, ambitious Napoleon. He sees Snowball, with his idealism and his plans for the windmill, as a direct threat to his own power.
The windmill. That was Snowball's big idea, right? To bring progress and modernity to Animal Farm.
Exactly. He envisions this grand structure that will provide electricity, make life easier for everyone. But Napoleon views it as a symbol of Snowball's influence, a challenge to his own authority.
So what does he do? Does he try to outmaneuver Snowball, convince the other animals that his ideas are better?
Napoleon's not exactly known for his patience or his subtlety. He resorts to more, let's say, forceful tactics.
Forceful. Okay, I'm a little nervous now.
Remember those puppies Napoleon was secretly training? Well, they've grown up. Now they're not cute, playful pups anymore.
Yeah.
They're vicious, snarling dogs, completely loyal to Napoleon.
Oh no, this can't be good.
It's not. In a chilling display of power, Napoleon unleashes his dogs on Snowball, chasing him off the farm.
Just like that. No debate, no vote, just brute force.
That's Napoleon's style. He understands that fear is a powerful weapon, and he uses it ruthlessly to eliminate any opposition.
So Snowball, the visionary, the idealist, is gone, driven away by a pack of dogs, and Napoleon is left in complete control.
And with Snowball out of the picture, the Seven Commandments start to undergo some revisions.
Revisions, you mean like edits, like someone's taking a red pen to the very foundation of their society.
Exactly. The pigs, under Napoleon's guidance, start to reinterpret the commandments, twisting their meaning to serve their own interests.
So it's not enough for them to break the rules, they have to actually change the rules themselves. That's pretty sneaky.
It's more than sneaky, it's insidious. They use Squealer, the smooth-talking pig, to convince the other animals that these changes are necessary, that they're in everyone's best interest.
And the other animals just believe him.
Many of them do, especially Boxer. He's so dedicated, so loyal to the cause, that he accepts anything the pigs tell him, even if it contradicts what he knows to be true.
It's almost heartbreaking. He's like the ultimate symbol of blind faith, of how easily good intentions can be exploited.
He is, and his tragic fate is a stark reminder of the price of unquestioning loyalty.
Speaking of tragic fates, let's talk about the windmill. Whatever happened to that? Did Snowball's grand vision ever come to fruition?
It did, but not without a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally. The animals, under Napoleon's iron-fisted rule, are forced to work harder than ever before.
They're basically slaves now, aren't they? Working to build a monument to the very pig who stole the revolution.
It's a chilling parallel, isn't it? They've overthrown one tyrant only to be ruled by another, perhaps even more oppressive.
And what about the neighboring farmers? I bet they're not too thrilled about this whole animal uprising thing. Do they ever try to reclaim Manor Farm?
They do. There's a battle, the Battle of the Cowshed, where the animals fight bravely and manage to repel the human invaders.
So a victory for the animals. That must have been a morale booster.
It was, for a time. But it also gave Napoleon an excuse to further tighten his grip on power, to justify his increasingly authoritarian rule.
So even a victory can be twisted, manipulated to serve the agenda of those in power.
Exactly. The Battle of the Cowshed becomes a propaganda tool, a way to glorify Napoleon's leadership and silence any dissenting voices.
It's like this never-ending cycle, isn't it? Revolution, hope, betrayal, oppression. It's enough to make you lose faith in everything.
Well, don't lose faith just yet. There's still a lot more to uncover, a lot more darkness to explore, and maybe, just maybe, a glimmer of hope amidst all the despair.
You know, it's funny you should mention hope, because one thing that really struck me about Animal Farm was how, even in the darkest moments, there's this flicker of defiance.
Really? I guess I was so caught up in the pig's manipulations and the animal suffering that I missed it.
Oh, it's subtle, but it's there, like a tiny ember refusing to be extinguished.
I'm intrigued. Give me an example. Well, think about Benjamin, the cynical donkey. Remember him? He always seemed so resigned, so sure that nothing would ever change.
Oh yeah, Benjamin, the ultimate pessimist.
Right. But even Benjamin, in his own quiet way, resists the pig's tyranny. He never fully buys into their propaganda, and he mourns the loss of Boxer more deeply than any of the other animals.
It's true. He's the one who reads the altered commandments to Clover,
Yeah.
revealing the extent of the pig's deceit.
Exactly. He sees what's happening, even if he doesn't believe it can be changed. And that in itself is an act of defiance.
I guess so. It's like he's bearing witness to the truth, even if he can't do anything to stop it.
Precisely. And that act of witnessing, of remembering, is crucial. It's a way of preserving the memory of what Animal Farm once stood for, a reminder that things weren't always this way.
So maybe there's hope in remembrance, in keeping the flame of truth alive, even in the darkest of times.
I think so, because as long as someone remembers, as long as the truth is not completely forgotten, there's always the possibility of change, of a new beginning.
It's a powerful thought, and it brings us back to the whole purpose of Animal Farm, doesn't it? Orwell wasn't just writing a cute story about talking animals. He was sending a warning, a message to the world.
You got it. He was holding up a mirror to human nature, exposing our capacity for cruelty, our susceptibility to manipulation, our willingness to turn a blind eye to injustice.
And he was reminding us that the fight for freedom and equality is never truly over.
Absolutely, it's a constant struggle, a battle that must be fought and won anew in every generation.
So what can we do? What lessons can we learn from Animal Farm that we can apply to our own lives, to our own world?
Well, for one thing, we need to be wary of those who promise easy solutions, who claim to have all the answers.
Like the pigs, promising an animal utopia but delivering tyranny.
Exactly. We need to be critical thinkers, to question everything, to demand evidence, to not be swayed by empty rhetoric or catchy slogans.
You need to be like Benjamin, always watching, always remembering, always holding on to the truth.
And we need to be willing to speak out against injustice, to stand up for what we believe in, even when it's unpopular or dangerous.
Because the price of silence, of apathy, is far too high.
It is. As Animal Farm so powerfully demonstrates, the road to tyranny is often paved with good intentions, with the silence of the well-meaning, with the unquestioning obedience of those who believe they're serving a greater good.
So it's a call to action, really. A reminder that we all have a role to play in safeguarding our freedoms, in holding those in power accountable, in creating a world where all animals and all people are truly equal.
Well said. That's a message that will never go out of style.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into George Orwell's Animal Farm. We hope this conversation has sparked some new insights, some critical reflections, maybe even a little bit of hope amidst the darkness.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
And to all you listeners out there, keep questioning, keep thinking, and keep fighting the good fight. Until next time, happy reading.